Hi Creatives, Claire from Right Accounts, and in this video I'm going to be talking about inventory management. Now originally I wrote this blog before Christmas when people were kind of getting ready for market season, and I wanted to give people a few factors to think about before gung-ho jumping into creating as much inventory as possible. But I think it's actually relevant currently because with the situation, some people may have a little bit extra time that they could dedicate to making additional inventory, but there are some features or considerations that you should think about before just producing as much stock as possible. Now, the first one is the stock itself. So, what are you going to do with any stock that doesn't sell? Yes, eventually, I fully hope and expect that your stock will sell in the long run. But what about between now and when it sells? So, although being able to make 1,000 teapots that you could sell seems like a good idea, you really need to look at what your average sales are before you decide to make 1,000 teapots. If your average kind of annual sales of teapots is 150, what are you going to do with the additional 850? And there's two factors at play here. So the first is if you have only ever sold 150 teapots because that's the total you could make, then that's one thing. But if you have sold 150 teapots previously and have additional stock from those, then you're going to have an excess stock. The second factor in this, or the third factor, is selling out. People have this huge fear, particularly when it comes to markets, of selling out of something. But if you've sold out of a product and you've made back your expenses, so in terms of markets, that would be your store fee, travel, and maybe a proportion of your equipment and something for your time, then you should be in profit, and we could actually celebrate selling out as a good thing. You know, that item is popular enough to sell out and make your money. Yes, there's a missed opportunity of potentially having additional sales, but you may have a little bit of your sanity left because you didn't make 1,000 teapots and you still have the cash flow in your pocket. So the second major consideration is time, and not that you have time now, but would you have time during the future, so during market season or as the situation progresses, to make things as they sell. So not everything that we make has a huge lead time, and we can kind of make it more progressively as it goes. And also think about how else you can gain time. So can you outsource things? Can friends and family help you with printing or packing, or even with production? Like looking for ways to create time during production, it kind of is more of a long-term strategy than just creating heaps and heaps and heaps of stock currently. Third consideration is cash and cash flow. So although you may have the time to make 1,000 teapots that you could sell, how much are the supplies for those teapots going to be, and do you have sufficient cash flow to cover that? Also remember, you also have to cover the selling fees, the postage, any travel you need to do to get those to the post office or to get to market if we've gone back to market season. Are you willing to contribute those costs into the business in the short term until those 1,000 teapots sell and you see the return on your investment? Now, the next factor that kind of gets a little bit overlooked when we think about inventory is the associated supplies. So what else needs to go with your products in order for you to be able to make a sale? So, for example, we're still selling 1,000 teapots, but if we only have 100 boxes to put those teapots in so we can securely sell them so they don't smash, then we can only sell 100 teapots unless we can secure more supply. So we're going to make 1,000 teapots. We're also going to buy 1,000 teapot boxes. We think about those associated supplies as well, so whether that's packaging or protective equipment or the display that goes with it. And the last thing is kind of more of a challenge than a consideration. What existing supplies do you have that you could use before buying additional supplies? So often, if you're like me, you buy supplies that you used partially for one project and then become leftovers. So the amount of gemstones I have, for example. For you, it could be fabrics or paint. Could you challenge yourself to make something from those supplies rather than having to purchase additional supplies, whether they're associated supplies or the supplies needed to make a product. Using up those will free up some of that storage space and save you a little bit of cash flow in the meantime. So, like, the ideal situation for inventory management for me is to be creating products progressively. We can't predict what's going to sell. We can't predict when it's going to sell. So if we can do that kind of progressive replacement as stock is needed, that really eases up your cash flow. You still manage to maximize the opportunities for sale, and you still maintain a little bit of time for other pursuits in your life. As ever, if you've enjoyed the video, give me a like or a comment, a thumbs up underneath. I will link to the full blog post, and otherwise, I hope to see you in another video.